Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take all that information you're navigating and, well, pull out the key insights. And today, we're diving into something pretty new and interesting in the learning and research space. Google's NotebookLM.
Absolutely. And for this one, you shared some great sources, several YouTube videos showing it in action, plus a really handy PDF guide aimed at students.
Yeah, so our mission today, really for you listening, is to get a clear handle on what NotebookLM actually is, how it works under the hood, and, the big one, how it could be a real asset for learning faster, more effectively from all sorts of information, whether that's for school, work, or just, well, curiosity.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's get right to it. In a nutshell, what is NotebookLM?
Okay, so think of it like a personal AI assistant from Google, but specifically for research and writing. Now, the really key thing, the main difference from, say, general AI chatbots, is that NotebookLM only works on the sources you upload to it.
Only your source.
Exactly. And you can have up to 50 sources in one notebook, so you can bring together all your materials for a specific project, which is incredibly useful.
50 sources? Wow, that's like a mini digital lab. What kind of stuff can you feed it?
It's pretty broad, actually. PDFs, standard text files, Markdown files, Google Docs, Google Slides. You can also point it at website URLs or even use transcripts from YouTube videos.
YouTube transcripts, too? Okay.
Yeah, and audio files, MP3, WAV, plus, just good old copy and pasted text.
So it's not just scraping the entire internet like some other AIs. That feels much more contained, right?
Precisely. Its whole purpose is to analyze, synthesize, maybe even help generate content, but only based on the materials you've provided. It makes working with a lot of info much more manageable, much more focused.
Right.
People often call it a virtual research assistant or an AI collaborator because it stays within the bounds you set with your documents.
Got it. So who can actually use this? Is it widely available?
Well, for a personal Google account, you generally need to be 18 or older. If you're using an institutional account, like from a university, their own IT department might have different rules. So that's something to check.
Okay. And cost? Is this going to break the bank?
Good news there. There's a free version. And it's actually quite powerful. Lets you do a lot. For people who need more, like higher limits on uploads or maybe some advanced features, there is a paid plus version too.
Okay, so you can definitely try it out without pulling up front. That's great. Let's get into the nitty-gritty then. How does it actually work? What's the process?
Right. So the first step is getting your sources in. It's usually pretty straightforward, uploading files, pasting links into a specific notebook.
And you mentioned notebooks.
Yeah, the idea is you create separate notebooks for different projects or subjects. The free version lets you have, I think, up to 100 notebooks.
Wow, okay.
And within each, you can have those 50 sources. There are size limits, of course, something like 500,000 words or 200 millibytes per source, roughly. One quick tip, though. If you're using sources that change, like a live Google Doc or a website, you need to remember to manually refresh it inside NotebookLM so the AI has the latest version.
Good tip. Okay,
Yeah.
So your sources are loaded up. What happens then? Does the AI just look at them?
No, not quite. Once you've got things uploaded, you'll usually see something called the notebook guide. Think of this as like the dashboard for that notebook. It automatically generates a summary of all the sources you put in there. This is huge for quickly getting the gist of a big pile of documents. Saves a lot of initial reading time.
An auto summary of everything. Nice.
Yeah. And what's also really helpful is it suggests questions based on your specific content. So it acts like a quick overview, an executive summary, if you will, but also a starting point for digging deeper.
That sounds incredibly useful, especially if you're faced with, like, 10 dense research papers. But what if you have your own questions?
Absolutely. That's where the main interaction happens, usually through a chat interface. You can just ask questions in natural language.
Like talking to it?
Pretty much. You can ask, what's the main point of this document? Or compare the arguments in these two sources, stuff like that. But, and this is crucial, the answers are only based on the documents in that specific notebook.
Right, sticking to the script you gave it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to help you trust it, the answers include inline citations, little clickable links that take you right to the spot in your original document where it found the information.
Okay, so it shows its work. I like that. What about just getting a quick summary of one long document? Not everything.
Yep, it's great for that too.
Sure.
Summarization is a core feature. And again, purely based on your material, sometimes you might even have a bit of control over how long or focused the summary is.
And it can find themes across different documents too, you mentioned.
It can, yes. It's really good at identifying those connections or recurring ideas that pop up in several of your sources. Super helpful for synthesis, seeing the bigger picture when you're juggling multiple readings.
Okay, summaries, Q&A. What if you find a really key quote or have an idea while you're reading? Where does that go?
There's usually a feature for that, often called a pin board or something similar. It's basically a space to save important bits, quotes, snippets of text from your sources, and crucially, your own notes or thoughts.
Like digital sticky notes.
Kind of, yeah. And you can often tag these saved items with keywords, which makes organizing and finding related thoughts later much easier as your project grows. It's great for capturing those aha moments.
Nice. Now, one of the videos we looked at mentioned something about AI audio summaries, like a podcast generated from your notes.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. It's called audio overviews. The AI essentially generates a narrated summary, hitting the key points from your sources.
How long are they?
Typically around, say, 6 to 30 minutes. It tries to pull out the core information into an audio format.
Whoa.
It's fantastic if you're an auditory learner or if you want to review material while you're commuting or doing chores. Some versions even let you ask questions during the audio playback.
Interactive audio. That's clever. Turns your commute into study time.
Potentially, yeah.
What other tricks does it have up its sleeve?
Well, there are these things we could call structured learning tools, features that automatically create things like study guides, FAQ lists based on your documents, timelines if there are events mentioned, or even briefing docs.
So it makes study aids for you.
Pretty much. Often just a button click in that notebook guide section. Imagine loading your class notes and getting an instant FAQ list or a timeline.
That takes away some of the organizational heavy lifting.
Exactly. And for visual learners, there's often a mind map feature too. It auto-generates these interactive diagrams showing how ideas in your sources connect. You can zoom in, click around, explore the relationships visually.
A mind map of my own notes. That could be really insightful for seeing connections.
It really can be. Another thing is the Discover Sources feature. This uses Google's AI, Gemini, to look beyond your uploaded documents.
So you can look outside?
Sort of.
Yeah.
You describe a topic, and it suggests maybe up to 10 relevant web sources, but it gives you an AI summary of each one first, explaining why it might be relevant. So it's a controlled way to bring in outside info. You can then choose to add those to your notebook.
Okay, so it finds potential leads for you.
Right. And lastly, they're improving its ability to understand visuals within documents, especially PDFs, things like charts, graphs, images. It started with PDFs added via links, but the goal is to make it work for direct uploads too.
That covers a lot of ground. Okay, seriously impressive toolkit. Let's talk practicalities. How would someone actually use this day to day, especially for learning or research? That student guide had good examples.
Yeah, it did. For students working on assignments or essays, it's potentially a huge help. You could upload the assignment prompt and all required readings. Then you can ask it to clarify confusing parts of the instructions. Brainstorm outlines based on the readings. Find quotes to support your points, complete with citations. Some people even use it to get some initial feedback on their writing structure or clarity.
Wow, like having a tireless TA and study buddy combined. What about bigger tasks, like a literature review for a thesis?
Oh yeah, for lit reviews, it could be incredibly efficient. Upload all your articles, get summaries of each, ask it to identify the main themes or debates across all of them, maybe even spot gaps where more research is needed.
So it helps synthesize faster.
Definitely. It can accelerate that process of getting a handle on the current state of a field and seeing how different studies relate or maybe even contradict each other. Can reveal connections you might miss otherwise.
Makes sense. In exam time. Always stressful.
Yeah.
How does NotebookLM fit in there?
It can be a really personalized study partner. Upload your lecture notes, textbook chapters, maybe old practice questions. Then have it generate study guides tailored to that material. Create FAQs, build timelines of key dates or developments, maybe even draft flashcard content for you to review.
Flashcards too.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. And those audio overviews we mentioned, great for revision on the go. You could even ask it to create practice questions based specifically on your weak areas.
So it adapts to what you need to focus on. That's powerful.
Yeah.
What about using it outside of school? For personal stuff or work?
Loads of potential there, too. For personal knowledge management, someone mentioned uploading journal entries. You could ask for summaries of your recurring thoughts or feelings over time.
Interesting.
The audio feature could even create a sort of reflective discussion based on your writing. For career stuff, upload your resume, maybe some job descriptions you're interested in, and ask it to identify skills gaps or potential career paths, or research an industry by feeding it reports and articles.
So career advisor too.
In a way, yeah. And learning new skills, imagine wanting to learn basic Italian for a trip. You could combine YouTube tutorial transcripts, maybe a PDF phrase book, all in one notebook to practice and quiz yourself.
Okay, those are really diverse uses. Before we wrap up, any quick tips for people wanting to try this effectively?
Yeah, a few things. First, be specific with your questions or prompts. The clearer you are about what you want, the better the AI can respond. Don't be afraid to experiment with phrasing.
Good prompting is key.
Definitely. Second, don't think of it as a replacement for actual learning. It's an assistant. Combine it with active reading, taking your own notes, discussing ideas with others. It works best with those methods, not instead of them.
Right, it's a tool, not a shortcut to understanding.
Exactly. And finally, just keep an eye on it. It's a tool that Google is actively developing, so new features and improvements are likely to keep rolling out. Stay curious about what it can do.
Okay, so putting it all together, NotebookLM sounds like it has real potential. A powerful tool for making learning and research more efficient, maybe even deeper. Like that personalized AI assistant working just on your stuff.
That's a good way to put it. And since there's a free version anyone with a Google account can access, it's really easy for you, the listener, to just, take it for a spin, see how it fits your own needs.
Yeah, we definitely encourage you to think about where it might help you, what are those learning challenges you face, what topics are you curious about, what documents would you upload first?
Which leads to maybe a final thought to ponder. If you had a tool that could genuinely analyze and discuss your specific learning materials with you, what new levels of understanding, what new insights might you actually unlock?